What have you found to be like the things you hear over and over and over again that you've heard that have consistently just destroyed marriages and relationships outside of like the blatantly obvious things?
I think a big piece is just losing what I called like the cheerleader thing. There's a time when you're first in a relationship where like you're just in this person's corner, like you just the things they do, you're just a fan, like even the things that might be a little annoying or something, like they become sort of like charming things about the person, like you kind of overlook the bad and you look at the at the bright side of everything with that person. And then it's become very in vogue in our culture, I think largely because of media. Every TV show, like you got the wife who's rolling her eyes at the stupid husband, and the husband who like secretly can't stand his wife and she's just like this awful woman who doesn't sleep with him anymore. And all those tropes that make like the Married with Children or any of those, sitcoms. And then I think people think that's how marriages are supposed to be and how people are supposed to relate to their spouse. But I don't think successful marriages look like that. Like successful marriages, they're cheering for each other. Like they're in each other's corner. There's a loyalty to each other. There's like a. I'm not saying you ignore bad things happening or bad choices that your spouse is making. I don't think that's healthy for your spouse. If you love someone, it's good to help them see their blind spots. But that can be done in a way that I think is loving, right, and affirms that you're a fan of this person. Look, constructive criticism is criticism. Like it's got a bow on it. It's constructive. It's not, hey, you suck. It's, hey, what you're doing sucks. But it's still hard to hear. So there's ways I think to move forward with change or suggest change in your partner that aren't criticisms, because I think that's the biggest like subtle divisive thing that pushes people towards those big, as you put it, like the big marriage killers, the big obvious reasons why marriages end. I also think you know romance, sex, intimacy. And when I say intimacy, intimacy doesn't mean sex necessarily, although sex can be, something that facilitates intimacy. Intimacy is the ability to be yourself with another person, to be fully yourself with another person. And so I think that's something that we build and value and cherish early in a relationship. And then later, as things move along, we're just sort of like, meh, I don't need to talk about that right now. Like, why upset the apple cart? And I don't think that's good. Like, there's never a good time to have tough conversations or to say something to your partner, that makes you feel vulnerable to say. But I think that if you don't, the walls that start getting built between people, it gets to a place where like you can't see over those walls anymore. You can't break through those walls anymore because you've slowly built them brick by brick by brick and reinforced them. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, how come I can't feel this person's warmth anymore? And it's like, dude, because you built this wall over time, one brick at a time. And now it's so damn big, you can't break through it. You can't get around it. You can't feel or hear each other through it. And so I really think it's about the little things, like keeping those little connections. Or if you're in a new relationship, like just not letting there be slippage, just really like making a conscious practice of valuing the connection you have.
I'd love to know your opinion on love. A, because I think I heard you say that just because you love somebody doesn't necessarily mean the marriage is going to be great, or something to that effect, or love doesn't necessarily equal.
Well, there's a lot of people I love I wouldn't want to be married to. And I think that love and marriage, it's nice when they happen to intersect, but I don't think they have a whole lot to do with each other necessarily.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, they should. I just don't. I think they're correlated. They're definitely not causal. Like, I don't think being married to someone makes you love them. And I don't think loving someone makes you marry them. Because I know people that love each other that aren't married, and I know people that are married that don't love each other in abundance. I know a lot of them. So I think you're making a mistake by associating those two things with each other too closely. But I think love is everything. Like I don't. I mean, I know it sounds like an oversimplification, but I think John Lennon was onto something. Like all you need is love. Like, I think at the end of the day, we're here because of love. Like, we're here trying to find love and feel love and give love. And most people, if you ask them about their lives, like, what's important, I was a hospice volunteer for many years. And at the end of people's lives, I spent a lot of time in the room with people who were actively dying. And most people, when they're talking to a hospice volunteer, who you only get to meet because you're dying, they don't talk that much about the shit they own. They don't talk that much about the petty grievances they have with people from their life. They talk about their families. They talk about the things they loved doing, the places they loved going, the memories of moments they loved, that where they felt alive or where they saw something or ate something beautiful that made them feel alive. Like, love is what we're here for. I really believe that. I think being a divorce lawyer has not beat the romantic out of me. I think love is incredible, but I think there's something really, really toxic about not being a realist. Like, I think you can be a romantic and be a realist. I think you can be a romantic and I think it's actually more romantic to be real and honest and to say, like, no one gives you their love permanently. It is loaned to you. And I think marriage creates this false perception that your love has now been permanently gifted to another person. And it makes it really easy to just not care for it anymore because, well, it's mine now. No one can take it away. It's mine. But it's not. It's always on loan. Your life is on loan. Your body is on loan. It's ending. Everything is ending all the time. Like, your life is ending 1 minute at a time. From the minute you're born, we are born into a grave. Like, we are on our way out. And I think we should proceed accordingly. Like, I think if you look at your marriage and you remember it's going to end in death or divorce, but it is going to end, I think you're going to approach it differently. So I really do think that love is what we're after. Marriage is not what we're after. If you're after marriage, then maybe, I don't know, it's a financial thing or it's a transactional thing. But even that, why are you after it? Because you want security and you want to feel like someone's there for you. Okay, so marriage may not be the solution to that problem. Like, there's plenty of bad marriages where people don't feel secure. They don't feel like they have support in their life. So I think it's, what is the problem to which marriage is a solution? And if it's the problem of I don't feel loved, there is not a piece of paper that the government can give you that's going to make you feel loved. Or if it does, it's an illusion. It's a imaginary solution to a real problem.
Staying on this theme, people question often, like, I don't know if I am actually in love with this person or I love this person. I don't know if he loves me. I don't know if she loves me. I mean, I guess just based on what you just shared and then also your experience, like, what are some ways that you think people can know if they actually truly like love somebody and how they can tell if their partner actually loves them?
Well, I would say there's two distinct meanings, right? So, like, love is a feeling and love is a verb. So love is a feeling. Like, I love this person and I feel loved by this person. Like, that's a feeling. And then love is also a verb. Like, I'm going to love this person. Like, I'm going to hold on to the possibility of good in them. I'm going to support them emotionally and spiritually. Like, love is a verb. Like, I'm going to do the work to be a good partner to this person. I'm going to, that's so I think that you should ask yourself, like, one is a feeling, like an emotional state, and emotional states are like clouds, like they pass, they change, and you're not going to 100% of the time be in this like ultra charged state. Like, I think that's unrealistic, like those early days of romance, when you first start seeing someone and like just they brush up against you and it's like electric, like we'd never get anything done if it was like that forever. If 10 years in you were still like, oh, when they even walk past, you're like, that's an unrealistic, like, you'd never go to work, you'd never get anything done. So I think it's okay to be honest with yourself that, like, hey, it's going to shift, it's going to change. There's going to be chapters in the relationship where the visceral feeling of love is abundantly clear. Maybe it'll be when a kid is born or an anniversary or when you guys are sharing space in some place that's special to you or when you're having sex or whatever. Like there might be times where you feel that thing intensely and there might be times where it feels further away. But it doesn't mean it's gone. It just means it feels further away. And that's where the verb of love, I think, comes in, which is what can I do that makes this person feel loved? And what does this person do that makes me feel loved? And how can I get them to do that more often? And sometimes I think the answer is when you love someone in the verb sense of the word, they very often then feel inspired to love you back, right? So, I think that's a huge piece is there's this spiral that sometimes happens in long-term relationships. And it doesn't even have to be a love relationship. It can be an employer and an employee is a great, less emotional example, where well, I'm not going to pay this person well because they're not really doing their job that diligently. Well, I'm not going to do my job diligently. They're hardly paying me well enough. And it's like, okay, so now we're just in this death spiral, where everyone's unhappy with everybody. Same thing in relationships. Like, this person doesn't value me, so I'm not going to treat them with value. Well, why should I treat them with value? They don't treat me with value. Somebody's got to break that cycle. And sometimes and I'm not saying you should keep trying to push the boulder up the hill. If you're giving and giving and giving, and the other person just never gives back, maybe that's a sign that this is not good, right? This is not a good pairing. But a lot of times, like when we show kindness, the other person starts to show kindness, and all of a sudden this spiral goes in the other direction. And so I think that's a huge, I think the most important question for people to ask themselves is when do I feel loved and when do I feel loving? A lot of this is just inside, like everything's in your head to some degree, everything you're feeling, it's all in your own head. So I think the more you go inside and figure out your emotional state and when you feel loved and when you feel loving, that's where you're really going to do the best work. And then I think you bring that to the relationship, and that's probably what keeps people out of my office is if they can do that.